Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Collective Worship with me, Mr. Bray. We're going to continue thinking about our school value of community this week. And we're actually going to carry on from last week and continue thinking about equality in a community. And I'd just like you all to take a moment now, whether you're at home or in school, to think back to last week and try to remember what that word equality means. Okay, hopefully you've got it in your mind right now, or maybe you're still struggling to remember or thinking back to our Monday worship last week. Well, equality is all about things being even, being equal for all parties when we're thinking about equality in a community. And that's what we want it to be, isn't it? Because we want it to be fair. And that's what we're going to really focus on today, is fairness. We all like things to be fair and equal, don't we? And I'm sure you've all heard people saying things like, it's not fair, it was my turn, or that's not fair, I was sitting there, or it's not fair, I want to play this game. And we've probably all heard those things before, and probably have all said those things at some time as well. Because as I said, nobody likes to feel that something is unfair. So to help us think about that, I'm going to read a story from the Bible today. It's from the book of Luke, and it's called The Prodigal Son, a very famous Bible story that lots of you will already be familiar with. But when you're listening to the story and looking at the pictures, I want you to think about fairness and whether or not you think what happens in the story is entirely fair. So as I mentioned, this is a Bible story, so a story that Jesus would have told to his followers. And it's called The Prodigal Son. There was once a man who had two sons. Both worked very hard on their father's farm. The younger one wanted to leave though and go travelling. So he asked his father if he could have his share of the property to enable him to do this. His father agreed. The young man sold his share to his father and went off with the money. The man went to a faraway country where he spent his money on having a good time. He enjoyed parties and relaxing, but soon he had spent all the money he had been given. So he had to find work in order to have money to buy food. He eventually found a job working for a pig farmer. There was a terrible famine in that land and very little food to eat. The pigs he was tending had food, but no one gave him anything to eat. The man was starving, so he began to eat the food that was meant for the pigs. At last, the man came to his senses. He realized that he had been better off at home. He knew that his father's servants had more to eat than he was getting. He was very sorry for what he had done and decided to return home and ask his father to forgive him. His father had always hoped that his son would come home. Every day, his father watched the road, wishing that his son would return. One day, he saw someone in the distance. His son was coming home. He was so overjoyed that he ran to meet him. The young man fell at his father's feet and begged for his forgiveness. I wasted all your money, and I am no longer fit to be called your son, he said. Please let me be one of your servants. But instead of being angry, his father called the servants and told them each to fetch a clean cloth and clothes and prepare a great feast. Let us celebrate my son's return, he said. I thought he was gone forever, but now he is alive. He was lost, but now is found. So the feasting and celebrations began. Meanwhile, the elder son had been working in the fields. On his way home, he could hear the music and celebrations, and he wondered what was going on. He called one of the servants and asked what was happening. The servant told him that it was all because his younger brother had come home. The elder son was furious. He felt that it was so unfair. He had never been given any reward for all his hard work during the time his brother had been away. Meanwhile, his brother had left home, wasted all his money, returned home penniless, and was being treated so generously. When the older brother met his father, he said, "It's so unfair. I have always obeyed you. I have worked like a slave for you, and yet you have never done anything like this for me." "My son," said his father, "everything I have is yours. You are always here with me. But I thought your brother had gone forever, and now he has come back. I have found him, and I am so happy. Be happy with me." So, I'm sure you can all understand why the brother who had stayed home felt that this was quite unfair. What do you think about the younger son's behaviour? And after we finish, maybe talk with your fellow classmates about this, or the people who are at home with you, and what you thought about the younger son's behaviour. Do you think the elder son was treated fairly or not? And why was the father so happy to see his younger son again? Well, Christians believe that Jesus wanted to show that God is like the Father in the story, forgiving us if we do something wrong. There are lots of things in life that may not seem fair, but it is important, isn't it, sometimes to forgive people, and we try to make things as fair as they can possibly be, and when they're not, we have to think about it and try to understand it, see if we can forgive and move on and try again. Now, I'm going to read a prayer now, and I want you to listen very carefully, and you can say Amen at the end if you want to make it your own and to join in as usual. But before I do that, another thing to think about after the end of our worship time, I just want you to think about all the wonderful things that happen in our lives, because there are lots of positives, aren't there? Take a moment to think about the people that are precious to us. How can we make the world a better place for those people? How can we focus on sharing and helping other people rather than maybe complaining that everything isn't absolutely perfect for us? Now, how do we understand that? And how can we make things as fair as possible in our school community? But I'm going to say that prayer now. Dear God, please help us to be thoughtful and caring towards others this day and always. Teach us to forgive, but teach us to be fair. Teach us to share. Amen. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have an excellent day today and a fantastic week, and please keep sharing your home learning with us, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Bye-bye.